Welcome back to another episode of the South by East podcast, where we talk about everything from the scriptures to music, culture, and everything in between. Today, it is just me, as Brell is enjoying his post-Easter vacation. And so today, we're looking at what is the difference between calling out words and actually knowing how to read. And you might think, well, if you can pick up a book and you can call out the letters on the page, then you can read. And that's not necessarily true. And I didn't always know the difference. So they say one of the things that's important in this journey is not just getting to a point in your educational career, up to a certain point. They say around the 6th grade, you are actually learning to read. 5th or 6th grade, you're learning to read. And then reading becomes your primary means to learn. And this is important. I remember my 6th grade teacher telling me, he says, I used to ask him, why do you read so many books? And he says, because I don't want everything I know to come from what someone else told me. And that's the difference. When you are not able to read at a level where you can learn from what you read and take in information on your own, then you are now subject to what someone else tells you for the knowledge and wisdom that you have. And that, in essence, puts you in servitude to social media, to the news media, or to everywhere else. And those are things that are so hard. You never want to be in that situation, because I love my parents. My parents are gone now, but then there's some things that as I learned more that I was like, oh, that's not necessarily true. And I learned that same thing with my grandparents, right? They told me they didn't I don't think they willfully lied to me or anything, but they're not perfect people, just like I'm not perfect. So being able to read for myself and learn for myself are so important. But then there's a clip that goes even further why this is important. And for me, this is so important. Over a 3-year period, Fellowship Hi-Crest and some of our community partners knocked on every door in our neighborhood to sign up all the kids that we could for the Dolly Parton Library. Over 2,030 doors in our neighborhood. We wanted to make sure that every door received a knock with at least the opportunity to get free books into the homes of those who qualified for this program, and it's so essential. Why? This clip that I'm about to show you tells why.
To add on to this video about functional illiteracy, 54% of US adults have low literacy skills, which means they read below a 6th grade level. But that's pretty abstract. People don't really know what is a 6th grade level. And let me show you why that's important and where it gets dire. These are Lexile levels, and they're how we level complex text. We can't really do it with beginning readers very well. For reference, if you're in the 10th percentile, so pretty low for 6th grade, you should have about a 720 Lexile, which is like reading the BFG. If you're in the 90th percentile, meaning you're doing like exceedingly well in 6th grade, you could have up to a 1335, which is college and career ready. According to Lexile, to be in the 50th percentile, so middle of 6th graders, you would have a 1030 Lexile. But now let's think about important documents and things that adults need to read in order to live like a safe, healthy, regular life, and think about the Lexile levels. Number 1 is medical information. Study from 2014 from the National Institutes of Health said that most patient education materials related to medical procedures, medication, visit summaries have a readability of a 10.9, which is a almost 11th grade reading level. And in 2024, an American Heart Association journal piece also said it was about an 11th grade reading level. Number 2, let's talk about voting. When you vote in state, local, countrywide elections, and those little bills pop up with that language, that is rated by this Flesch-Kincaid grade level scale. In 2022, it had a grade level of 18, which is having a bachelor's degree. So if you read it at a 6th grade level or worse, those are impossible to understand.
She goes on with that. And here's, man, think about that. That is so important because graduation rates are one thing, but I also know some people who have graduated and still couldn't really read. They couldn't fill out a job application. Tell me, what value does a diploma have if you can't fill out a basic job application for a fast food restaurant? Think about this. Like, even especially in this day and time, she said to understand the bills that are on the ballot. So, okay, we're going to go through all the work to get everybody we can registered to vote. We're not telling you who to vote for, but we want you to vote and be an informed voter. How can you be an informed voter when you need a bachelor's level of reading skills, reading comprehension skills, to be able to look at that ballot and understand the bills on the ballot? Have you ever considered that? Have you ever went in to vote and read those things and saying, like, they are writing in a whole different language? Yes. Medical, right? She said you need 11th grade level to understand the basic documents that your doctor gives to you during your visit. That matters. So I used to, for my messages, for my sermons for Sundays, I used to write everything or try to take it to a 7th grade reading level. I even went through reading levels, and based on that, that is why we use the New Living Translation version of the Bible, because it was the easiest one to read, even below the NIV. And then recently, on our sense side, we hired Amy Kopp Hasty to be our senior development director. And one of her first suggestions was to really reword our website and everything on it, all of our printed material at a 5th grade level. And she's like, hey, this is where you need to be. And so we're going through that process now. And I was just shocked when she told me that in order for the material to be received, it really had to be at a 5th grade reading level. So even though our nonprofit may put things at a 5th grade reading level, and we might try all we can with our social media, with our website, with the printed materials we put out. I can try that with my Sunday morning sermons. But the rest of the world, the medical world is at 11th grade. Voting is at 18th level, right? The bachelor's level. Some of the other things she talks about in there, just being able to have the level of reading where you can learn from your reading, you need at least a 9th grade to college level. For basic everyday life, yeah, short text, different things, that's 3rd to 5th grade level. So if you're an employer and you're wondering why you're getting reports turned in that don't have complete sentences, that have really bad grammar and punctuation, is really tied to the reading level. And while we've been doing a lot of training on ethics and all that stuff is important, our lack of focus on true ELA skills is killing us. And for me, my background is in engineering, so it's a math and science thing. But even when I tutored math and science, and when I did some student kind of observations over math labs and science labs and all that kind of stuff in college, I knew that if those I were working with couldn't read, then they were never going to be able to do math and science, because the world doesn't give you 2 plus 3 equals 5. The problems come at you in words, and you have to be able to do reading comprehension to break that down. It's one of the reasons I believe so much in having music programs in schools, because you start to get some more of that in so many different ways. All of this is tied together. And until we really begin to see that, we miss some things. Because when your literacy is not really where it needs to be, it can be shame producing. And it can really hold someone back. That shame can hold someone back in so many areas of life that they could flourish in if they just had those literacy skills. It shapes economic opportunity, because even if you want me to invest in the stock market or in CDs and all these different financial things, I have to know that. There's so many contracts you have to read. I think a major part of our debt problem comes from a lack of literacy skills and people not being able to read the documents they're given and that they're signing. And so they just sign stuff that they don't understand, and they get into worse situations, not unknowingly. It shapes our health, because if we can't read what they're asking us to do, the best we can do is try not to be sick. We never truly get healthy. They just keep us from not being as sick as we were. And so it affects even our next generation, because when we bring children into our household that has low literacy, it cascades down because they have to live in the effects of my lack of literacy as they grow also. So we should start to see reading skills and training in ELA as a part of our infrastructure. As much as we see housing, as much as we see roads, as much as we see our civil service workers, our postmen and women, our firefighters, our policemen, we should start to see reading on the same level. I would like to know, what was the book that captured your heart, that started to grow a love for reading in your life? Or if you're not an avid reader, what was the major hurdle? What is something that could have been done to help change that for you? Drop it in the comments. And we'll see you next time as you like, comment, and share in the section.